Now, the second question that's vital to ask is, what are the students' emotional questions? See, after I identify the target audience, I then prepare myself for the emotional questions that students are asking of me, their teacher. It's important to note the difference between content questions and emotional questions. You see, content questions can change every week. There are questions like, is the Bible real? Why would a loving God allow pain? When it comes to a physical relationship, how far is too far? Are Methodists really Christians? That's not a question that would be asked, but those are content questions. Now, emotional questions are different because they rarely change. The emotional questions are these. Can I trust you? Do you care about me? And do you know what you're talking about? You see, even before Christ, Aristotle studied master communicators and made these questions famous by referring them to the ethos, pathos, and logos of communication. And what I want to do is I want to take a little bit of time and look at each of these that might help us be more effective communicators. The ethos that Aristotle referred to was where we get the word ethical and where we get the question that students ask, can I trust you? Students want to know this. They're thinking, are you a trustworthy person? Trust is a huge hurdle in the mind of a teenager, especially when it comes to listening to adult Christian leaders. They've seen so many examples of untrustworthy Christian leaders that they need to know that you're not one of those untrustworthy types. The pathos is where we get the word pity or empathy. This is where students are asking, hey, do you care about me? And anyone who works with students knows how important care is to a teenager. It's a cliche, but one that's vital to internalize and reflect on, that says, students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You see, that's a statement of pathos, empathy, pity. Do you care about me? Finally, logos, where the word logic comes from, is where students are asking, do you know what you're talking about? They're in their mind, they're saying things like, do you have a handle on the material you're trying to communicate to me, or you're reading this off a curriculum book? Have you really thought through this, or did you glance over it in the car on the way to church? Now, let's be honest. When we think about the ethos, can I trust you? The pathos, do you care about me? And the logos, do you know what you're talking about? Most of the time, we know what we're talking about. We know our topic, we know what we want to communicate, and we know what we want students to walk away with. We've usually got the logos covered. But of the three questions, can I trust you? Do you care about me? And do you know what you're talking about? Logos is the least important to students. If they don't trust you, and they don't think you care about them, it doesn't matter what you have to say or how much you know, because it will be irrelevant to their lives. They won't listen if they don't trust you or feel like you even like them. You might have great content, but if you're not a likable or a trustworthy person, you're not going to be a great teacher. Now, these three questions don't come out in formal ways like the content questions do. Like I said, I get content questions all the time, like when will Jesus return, and will animals go to heaven when they die, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But students don't usually verbalize these emotional questions. Well, they might say, do you know what you're talking about? But they won't say, can I trust you and do you care about me? But just because they don't verbalize these questions doesn't mean they're not thinking about them, and it won't affect our communication and the way they listen to us. Because of this, these emotional questions need to be answered in very practical ways if we're going to teach in a way that students will listen. That's why the third question that is vital to ask is this: how can I best answer their main questions? How can I best answer their main emotional questions? You see, when it comes to ethos, or can I trust you, this is a question that will take a significant amount of time to be answered. Sincere trust isn't developed immediately, but there are a few thoughts to begin to consider, and I've listed some in your notes here, and we'll just go through these pretty quick.